Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Fruska, Ate Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Iti Namantari. Namaste, Sarvati Deve, Gora Bhani, Visharyate, Yesesha, Sanyavati, Ashasha, Rosacharnati. His Divine Grace of Ayachadananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nandakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Ramacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Rem Say Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gora Sayam Vrinda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Navadipam Ki Jai. Sami Ki Jai. Jamanamai Ki Jai. Shrimati Lasidev Ki Jai. Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gora Premananda. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Mudana Timadanda Shagananjana Shnaya Chakshu Unmilitanam Vena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Okay? So, can someone move this thing over here, and I need a scribe. That means someone who can write. Too heavy for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Imam dvije spreske.
Do we have a pen for it? Are there any pens or writing implements? Right there. So who knows how to write here? Does anyone know how to write? Does anyone like to write? Will anyone volunteer to write? Will anyone write if I ask them to do it? Okay. And after asking, there was demanding. Oh, you don't know English? Well, that's not going to do very much better. Yeah. Gora Sankirtan, Hare Krishna. Good to see you. Okay. Now, I'll tell you what to write. So, welcome to the ISKCON Disciple Course. And let me explain what the Disciple Course is and how we're going to give it. The Disciple Course is a course that describes many different topics Guru Tattva, the disciplic succession, different types of gurus, relationship between ISKCON gurus and His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, who's our founder Acharya, taking shelter of a guru, selecting a guru, worship of the gurus, renouncing your guru when he doesn't listen to you. So, no, under certain circumstances. And developing relationships between Vaishnavas of different gurus in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Now this disciple course was put together by a group of very senior devotees, first taught in 2011 in Mayapur, and now it is an obligation for everyone who wants to take initiation. And also it's highly recommended for those of you already initiated. And the reason this course is so important is to carry out Srila Prabhupada's mission. Does anyone know what Srila Prabhupada's mission is? No. No one knows what Srila Prabhupada's mission is. Spread Krishna consciousness where?
West.
And just in the West.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. And to change the world, right? To create a revolution. Not your normal coup d'etat or a revolution in society, but to change society so that the Supreme Court justices are wearing tilak. And then everyone has to chant their rounds or they get kicked out. Like Prabhupada jokingly said that one time. He said, if we were in charge, just like that king Veer Hum Veer, who was the disciple of Srinivasa Acharya, if someone didn't chant Hare Krishna, they were kicked out of his kingdom. So anyone who doesn't chant Hare Krishna in the future will be sent probably to Australia or someplace like that. Okay. So, it's to actually unify society under the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Srila Prabhupada's vehicle for changing the world. It is very important, this is the purpose, very important to be unified. Rather than in the case of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers, who did what when Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master left the planet? What did they do? Does anyone know? Does anyone know what the Gaudiya Maths generally did when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati left the planet?
They fought for the property and for the position, and they were fighting who's going to get what, and who's going to get the right where the samadhi is, and things like that.
Because each and every one of them became gurus, which is not a problem. But they didn't do one thing that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur asked them to do, which is what? No. They didn't make a governing body commission and all work together in a way cooperative under the direction of a governing body commission. That's the one thing they didn't do. They preached, they chanted their rounds in general, they worshipped the deities in general, they opened up temples in general. But the one thing, to work in cooperation, love and trust and cooperate. Like Prabhupada said, that your love will be tested by what?
How you cooperate.
How you cooperate with each other. And to cooperate with each other, it's important to define the guru-disciple relationship. Because if each and every one of us thinks that I have my guru, you have your guru, my guru is better than your guru, I'm better than you, I'm just going to follow my guru and no one else, then you do not have a unified international society for Krishna consciousness. You have what they had in the Gaudiya Math. They sometimes fought with each other in front of the deities. When someone wanted to chant one person's pranam mantra, what's a pranam mantra? Anyone know? No one knows. What's the Hare Krishna mantra? Volunteers, what's a pranam mantra? like Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Vugale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamani. That's Pranam mantra. Or Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Vugale Shrimati Ayaswamini Tinamani. I offer that to myself every day. Pranam mantra. So, joking aside, in the Gaudiya Math, they had a fight when one person said one guru's pranam mantra, another person said another guru's pranam mantra, then, as they say in Sanskrit and Hindi, mushtika, the fist. They had a fight right in front of the deities. We don't want that. Because we want to be one society working under Srila Prabhupada. That's the only way we can satisfy Prabhupada. And so that's really ultimately the why of this course. Very, very important. So the course was designed by many educators, and of course I'm going to be giving it a little different way than most of the other people give it, because we are personalists, and it's hard to control me. I have a need for autonomy. So excuse me if I do it a little differently this time. So every time I'll do it differently. So there's 14 lessons, which include PowerPoints. So the way we're going to structure this, there's going to be 2 hours in the morning, 10:30 to 12:30, for everyone. That means everyone is invited to come. It's a general introduction, a general explanation of the different points, and then after that, we're going to have 2 hours for people who want to be trained up to teach the course. And we're going to be selective. And those people who do the extra 2 hours will be required to attend every single session that we have. Not just come in and out. And those people will be assessed at the end. That means a test. So if you're frightened of a test, don't come. The first 2 hours every day, you're not going to be tested. You can space out, do your email or anything else during it. But the second 2 hours are going to be very intensive with exercises. And so that's the structure of this. So the first 2 hours, 10:30 to 12:30. Second 2 hours, 12:30 to 2:30. Just about every day, except for Tuesday and Wednesday. Wednesday is a vacation. We're not going to be giving the course on Tuesday. We're only going to be doing the second 2 hours for training on Tuesday. Does everybody understand that? Okay. That's the general introduction of the course. And today, we're going to be doing Unit 1 and Unit 2, which is basically the introduction, which is something I did part of already. In Unit 1 we described the Guru Tattva and Parampara, Srila Prabhupada, Founder Acharya, ISKCON Gurus, and Unit 2, taking shelter of Gurus, selection of Gurus, and initiation of vows. So that's all going to be done today. Actually, this is the wrong list. No, we're just going to do welcome, introduction, Guru Tattva, and Parampara. Tomorrow we're going to do Srila Prabhupada, Founder Acharya. Okay. Got that right. All right. So I think we're ready to start. Oh yeah, let's define some terms first. I think this is important. Does everybody know what a disciple is? What the word disciple means?
Discipline.
Yeah. Discipline. Disciple means discipline. It actually is very similar to the Sanskrit word shisha. Can you write that down? Shisha. S-I-S-H-Y-A. S-I-S-H-Y-A. We're going to use diacritics. Y-A. Shisha comes from the Sanskrit root shash, which means discipline. So, Very similar word is Shastra. You know how to write Shastra, right? S-H-A-S. What about that? Shastra. Which is the book. And there's also Shastra. Shastra has a long A on it. Yeah, on top of it. And then Shastra with a short A, which means the stick. Or to be beaten. So, if you're a disciple, you should be ready to take instructions from the spiritual master or else you get beaten. Not really. Shastra. Without the law. Shastra. Okay, so there's Shisha, Shastra, Shastra, disciple, meaning a person who is disciplined by the Guru. What does Guru mean? Heavy. How many kilos? It depends. So write Guru and then write heavy, right? Guru equals heavy. Equals, yeah, heavy. Heavy with what?
Knowledge.
Knowledge. Very good. Okay. Let's take another word. Diksha. What does Diksha mean? Y-A. Yeah, that's, yeah, put it back in the Y-A. Yeah, all the word, that's fine. Diksha. Well, no, it's fine the way you wrote it. What does Diksha mean? What? Yeah, I know, besides initiation. The two words, Divya, Divya Gyan, Iksha. Divya, right, Divya, D-I-V-Y-A. Divya Gyan. What does Divya Gyan mean? Transcendental knowledge. Iksha means what? To see. To see, and Sha, and anyway, this, you're right, I guess. Right, I-K-S-A means to see. Or K-S-A sometimes means to show or to teach. Or it sometimes means to protect. Anyway. So these are words we're going to be using continually. Shisha, Shastra, Guru, Divya Gyan, Diksha, etc. Okay, let's start with the course. This works. Very nice. It's not working that great. Oh. So, should we go over the norms for classroom behavior here, or just wait until we wait? Yeah, these are norms for classroom behavior for those who are participating in the second part of the seminar. That we're going to make a promise to be there for the entire course, raising hands to contribute, because that's good manners, value other people's contributions, not have side conversations, and hopefully we won't be making phone calls or texting during class, and be confidential with everything that is said during the class. And don't use status, which means if you're an older devotee, don't try to lord it over any other devotee. You can do that after the seminar. But during the seminar, we're all equal. For part of the seminar, the second part, I'm going to be sitting down with the rest of you doing exercises. And you're going to forget who I am. And just treat me like one of the boys. Okay? And, what's that? Cowboy boys. No. One of the other guys here. So, anyway, we respect if people want to withdraw. We take responsibility for success. We don't find fault in people, ad hominem attacks, personal attacks, and honor agreements that we reach with devotees. If this works. Okay. So the basic aim of the whole course is to improve our discipleship within ISKCON to, as we mentioned before, to help promote the well-being of Srila Prabhupada's society so we can carry out Srila Prabhupada's mission. So here's an exercise we're going to do right now with all of you. And exercise, in this particular case, we're going to ask you to volunteer some answers to this. In what areas could ISKCON devotees improve as disciples of their gurus? Can you write this? No, you don't have to write the question down. They're answers. So please come up with some suggestions of what areas all of you as disciples can improve to help the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Turn it over, Krishna. We need that whole thing. To be more in contact with the spiritual masters. So more in contact with the spiritual message. Yes?
Relationship between God brothers and spiritual sisters and devotees in general.
Yeah, relationship between devotees in general, loving relationships. You mean like the dati, prati, granati, guya, makyati, prijati, giving prasadam, accepting prasadam, giving gifts, accepting gifts, revealing the mind and confidence. Anyone else? Developing good qualities like like mercy, being merciful. Anyone else?
To adhere to their word given.
Yeah, to stick to their promises and words. How about chanting better rounds?
That was one of them.
Okay.
One of these promises.
Oh, that was one of the promises. That was a sutra. Yeah.
General.
That means everything.
General brainstorm.
Yes.
Reading Srila Prabhupada's books.
Reading Srila Prabhupada's books. Yes.
Following the Guru's instructions.
Following the Guru's instructions. It's one or two more. We'll go on. Yes, go to Russia.
Fulfill, help their gurus, their mission to Srila
Okay, to assist their Guru in Srila Prabhupada's mission. Anyone else? Yeah.
To respect Guru's godbrothers.
To respect Guru's God brothers as one's Guru. That's very good. Anyone else? Yeah.
They could stick to their promise to their vows.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Two people said the same thing. That's very good. Anyone else? Yes.
Simply be honest.
Be honest.
Don't act as if we are someone else.
Tell the truth. Act the truth. Don't be hypocrites. Anyone else have any ideas? Okay. So these are things that we should concentrate on. So we've gone over a lot of this before. By taking this course, we will hopefully come to the understanding of the principles of what it means to be a disciple of our spiritual master and actually of Srila Prabhupada in terms of the Siksha relationship and also in terms of our tradition. So these are some of the, this is a lot to go over here. Anyway, we'll just go quickly. We're going to help us develop healthy relationships between each other, develop values and have good attitudes, work together cooperatively. And these are the course principles and values. First of all, to understand Srila Prabhupada's position as the preeminent Siksha Guru of everyone in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and Srila Prabhupada's instructions are the standard by which we measure everyone else's instructions. And also remains faithful to Srila Prabhupada's society, respect the authority structure of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and be very careful who we pick as a Diksha Guru. In other words, we shouldn't pick a Diksha Guru based upon sentimentality, like we would pick a movie star or a rock and roll star or something like that. It has to be done with great intelligence. We want to be committed to our vows, as we mentioned before here. Good sadhana was mentioned here. Faith in Guru's instructions, and learn how to ask questions or inquire in a very submissive way. Take good association. These are all mentioned, of course, in Srila Rupa Goswami's books too. Cultivate purity and cooperate with each other. Of course, chant the holy name and be absorbed in the holy name, chanting purely, and be able to understand and propagate Srila Prabhupada's teachings. So here's some nice quotes from Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada said, "We only have to execute the order of the spiritual master, preach Krishna consciousness, and follow in the path of the Vaishnavas. The spiritual master represents both Lord Krishna and the Vaishnavas. Therefore, by following the instructions of the spiritual master and by chanting Hare Krishna, everything will be all right." So this is very similar to a quote in the Chaitanya Charitamrita about faith. Shraddha Shabde Visha Shakahe Sujrita Nishchaya. That if someone has firm faith, the test of that is that that faith is trust, that simply by following what the spiritual master and what Krishna say, everything will be accomplished. Remember, this is an essential principle. That we don't have to shop around for different opinions. Srila Prabhupada's opinion, first of all, is first and foremost, and the Guru is transmitting or a representative of Srila Prabhupada, and if we simply follow it, we'll be successful in spiritual life. We don't have to go outside of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, even though someone may be presenting us ostensibly something that may appear more attractive.
I think that's it.
Is that it?
For the slides done.
That's it for the first set of slides.
Next one.
Yeah, give me the second set of slides. So that's welcome introduction. Anything else we got to cover on this welcome and introduction part? She's taught the course before. Yeah, in the second part, in the second 2 hours, we'll be going through this in greater depth with exercises. Okay. Let's just see if I left anything out. Okay. Got everything. Just a little note of how this whole thing is going to work. I'm just going over the broad explanations in the first 2 hours. And after we go over these broad explanations in the first 2 hours, the second 2 hours we're going to actually go into it in greater depth and do exercises That second 2 hours is for people who will be taking initiation in the future, and also for those who want to be trained as teachers in this course. As we mentioned before, this course is mandatory, or will be mandatory as of Janmashtami next year, for everyone who wants to take initiation in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So it's going to be very important to have teachers. We have a few teachers lined up. Like Manjari Gopi is one of the teachers. Amala Prema is going to be trained as a teacher, at least for Bosnia. And anyone who is interested, technically one should have something called the Vaishnava Teacher Training 1, which is given in Mayapur. But if I, as the GBC, feel that they're sufficiently qualified, that doesn't have to be there if they're sufficiently qualified as a teacher. So, anyone have any questions about that point before we go on to the second part? It's quite hot here, isn't it? Okay. Yes?
We'll be getting some, not certification, but something that
A certificate.
written, okay, you have been through this course.
Yes, those who attend the second portion will get a certificate. And if they pass the assessments, there'll be a certificate, right? And there'll also be student handbooks. What's that?
There are going to be student handouts to everybody who's going to take the second part. And this assessment is basically open book assessment. So you can look into this is like your workbook where you can put your notes in. And then this assessment is nothing really serious. It's just to reflect how much you learned. And it's open book assessment, okay? And whoever would like to take it will get after that a certificate that it passes the disciple course. Okay? And then the second part will be held in English. So whoever is fluent in English will take part in it. Because the handbook is in English and all the exercises is going to be on English because Gurudev will participate as well. And it's going to be, you can write Croatian or whatever language in your book, but when you're going to take assessment as well, you will need to understand the questions in English, but you can write on Croatian if you feel like that, because I'm going to read it, so it's not a problem. Okay?
Okay, anyone else have any questions? Yes.
Does anyone who aspires to become initiated should attend the second part?
Yes. Anyone who aspires to be initiated in the future should attend the second part. Because it will be required if one is taking initiation starting next year after Janmashtami. But we have a limit of about 20 people who can take the second part. And as I mentioned before, it requires that someone come to every single session, no matter what else is going on. Even if Krishna comes to the camp, you can't leave the session to greet Krishna. Remember that. So that'll be the second 2 hours, and there'll be an assessment, and all these different norms that we mentioned before will be followed during the second. It'll be more, I wouldn't say more formal, but it'll be more, let's say, more closed with only about 20 people attending. Okay. Any other questions before we go on to the second part, which is the essence of the course, beginning of the essence, which is Guru Tattva and Parampara? No? Okay. Does anyone know what Tattva means?
Truth.
Actually, technically means that which is. That which is. In other words, something that is the identity of something. It's very similar to the word dharma. The word dharma literally means that which sustains something, that which cannot be separated from an object. Like the typical example Prabhupada gives is that the dharma of fire is what? Heat and light. And the dharma of water is wet. And the dharma of the soul is love. All you need is love. Jivera Swarupa Hoy Nitya Krishna Das is eternal servant of Krishna. That's the dharma of the soul. The nature of a thing. The nature of a thing. So anyway, so Tattva, Guru Tattva is basically the nature or the identity of the Guru. What is a Guru? And this is what we're going to be talking about in this particular part. Okay? So, this is something that's interesting. Prabhupada mentions here, and this is of course in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that the Guru is mentioned in the plural, Gurun. Gurun means many Gurus. Like Prabhupada said here, many Gurus. But he also says they are one, which is interesting. That's similar to our understanding of Achintya Veda Veda Tattva philosophy. In other words, Guru is one, but Guru is many. So, what does that mean? Does anyone have any ideas? Guru is one, yeah.
Well, every guru should teach and speak to only one truth. So
To what?
only one truth.
Yes.
So they are all speaking the same thing. Like so as they want. Like one guru has one philosophy, other one has another philosophy. Like they all teach the same thing, the same essence.
The same essence, the same truth. Does anyone have any other ideas of why Guru is one? Yes, it's representative Nityananda Balaram, ultimately Krishna. Therefore we say Guru is one. He's representing the one truth. But then, if Guru is one, why are there many Gurus? Why is someone initiated by someone and another person is initiated by someone else?
Guru Tattva is one.
Guru Tattva is one, yeah. But why are there many Gurus? Why do we need many Gurus? Why don't we just all take initiation with the same person?
Because we have different types of people and different moods, and that's why we have also different...
Or you have to pick a Guru with the same mood. Do you have the same mood as me?
Fine.
That's an interesting answer.
But it's not valid.
Oh, no, it's all, everything you say is valid. I'm trying to be kind. So why do we need many Gurus? Yeah.
One guru cannot have so many disciples.
Yeah, probably not many. 5,000, 10,000. So, any other ideas? Yeah.
A particular
A particular,
guru can address our condition and nature. A particular guru can address our condition and nature.
why not?
Can.
Can.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's getting closer. That actually one of the main services of the Guru is, and this is also why, as we'll talk later on, the Ritvik philosophy, one reason why the Ritvik philosophy doesn't work, in addition to other reasons, is that the Guru's business is to ascertain the psycho-physical nature of the disciple and engage them accordingly. Very, very important. I mean, it's not just saying, chant Hare Krishna, follow the four regulative principles, but practically, what should you do for Krishna?
So, how is that related with the fact that we need many different groups?
Because the Guru, the way it's set up in ISKCON is the Guru has a relationship with the disciple, he has to be living. Very, very important. And if, for example, your Diksha Guru is not able to keep in contact with you, you need to take the help. And even if he is able to keep in contact with you, you need the help of other senior Vaishnavas. And they are all gurus. There's different types of gurus. I mean, even in one sense, your mother and father are gurus. And even in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in that story of the Avaduta Brahmana, he has so many aspects of this material world that he takes as gurus. Like he learns from a pigeon something, or he learns from a tree something else. But we need the guru to give us instructions how to engage in devotional service. And we need the guru on the planet because to be accepted by the guru has to tell us I accept. That's one problem with the Ritvik philosophy. Anyone's heard of what's the Ritvik philosophy? Does anyone know? There's someone new. Yeah. Dharma. Yeah, the Ritvik philosophy is that people, let's say people can take initiation from a previous acharya, including Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, and all the way back to Krishna. Hey, why not take initiation from Krishna? Wouldn't that be cool? Who's your guru? Krishna. And I'll do better than that. My guru is Radharani. See, I'm better than you. So, what that means, of course, is that you don't surrender to Krishna. Because if you accept instruction from someone who is not on the planet, who's not left you instruction like Srila Prabhupada has, then you're giving your own interpretation and adjustment through your own mental speculation. So it means no guru. Ritvik means no guru. And we're going to go over the Ritvik philosophy in a little while. Anyway, so one has many gurus in the Krishna consciousness movement. And even older godbrothers they consider gurus. And Srila Prabhupada is ultimately the Siksha Guru of everyone. Okay, so we're going to have a little bit of a discussion now, these two topics. So, first topic is, what is the position of a guru? In other words, what are the different types of gurus that you could think of? Anybody think of any guru? Yes. Varma Pradakshika Guru, which is who? Tell me what that means.
The first person who gave us the contact with Krishna consciousness.
All right. Give me an example from the Shastras. Who is Dhruva Maharaj's Varma Pradakshika Guru? His mother. Okay. What's another type of guru? Shiksha Guru, which means?
There's an answer saying the Shiksha Guru is everyone who knows more than us, who can teach us something.
They may not know more in every way than us, but they know more, they can help us, guide us in a particular way, at least. Any other comments? Diksha Guru. Okay, the initiating guru.
You just said these two kind of guru.
Yeah.
There's one Prabhupada statement I'd like to hear your explanation. Because one devotee, he asked Prabhupada in conversation. He said, Prabhupada, you said in your books that everyone wants to be successful, people should initiate. So he said, what about these people around? And Prabhupada said, if they apply, why won't they initiate?
Dhanivacha Prabhu just brought up a very little controversial point. That Prabhupada said that someone who buys his book, they're initiated. Now, I haven't read directly that quote, but I'll comment on that. The word initiation, Prabhupada didn't say they've taken diksha. There's a difference. Like any word in English or any language, it's generally defined by the context in which the word is in. So initiation can also mean beginning of one's spiritual life. It doesn't necessarily mean diksha. In other words, their spiritual life has begun. For example, before I came to the Krishna consciousness movement, I heard Srila Prabhupada chanting on the radio. And in one sense, that was the beginning or initiation of my spiritual life at that point. Srila Prabhupada met his spiritual master 11 years before he took diksha. But Prabhupada said, practically speaking, at that point when he met him, he had accepted him. And he was always meditating on Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's directions, which were to preach in English and ultimately in the Western world. So in that that's the context of it. It's not that when you read Prabhupada's books, you have taken diksha. Because taking diksha is a specific ceremony. There's two types of initiation. There's more than two, but we're just going to speak about two right now. Two types of initiation that people can take. There's the Harinam Diksha, in which you get the holy name, and you get your a name like Krishna Das or Radharani Dasi or something like that. And then there's Mantra Diksha, in which you get the Gayatri mantras. There's other types of initiation too, like sannyas initiation, but that's more of a formality. So the dikshas that we are interested in, insofar as this course is concerned, are the Harinam Diksha and the Mantra Diksha. Incidentally, the Gaudiya Math did not consider the Harinam to be an initiation. They only considered the second initiation, of Brahman initiation, to be initiation. And Srila Prabhupada basically considered both to be initiation, and he considered that even at the first initiation, the guru takes on the karma of the disciple. He purifies the disciple and takes on the karma at the first initiation. So that's the Harinam initiation. Does everyone understand that? Okay. So any other questions about that? Yes.
I've heard one elaboration on this topic that previously or before Lord Chaitanya, the mantra was given at the point of initiation, but and it was a secret which was given to the disciple by the Guru. But when Lord Chaitanya came, he gave the Vaka mantra to everyone. He was singing the mantra openly on the streets. So I have heard that Lord Chaitanya already gave everyone on this planet.
So it's, the question, if I get it right, was that you were saying that Lord Chaitanya already initiated everyone in the Harinam because he gave it openly in the streets. In one sense, initiated by starting them in Krishna, but he didn't give them diksha. See, we're using the word initiation in a little bit different way. Initiation also means to begin or start one's spiritual life. When I first heard Srila Prabhupada chanting, I was initiated as far as starting my spiritual life, but I did not take Diksha at that point. But secondly, the Hare Krishna mantra was never a secret. The secret, what you're referring to, is in the Ramanujacharya Sampradaya, the Sri Sampradaya, in which there is the mantra Om Namo Narayanaya Namaha. And that mantra was given by Sripad Ramanujacharya's guru to Sripad Ramanujacharya, and he was told not to repeat it to anyone, because anyone who heard it would get liberated. So instead of following his guru's instructions, he got on the top of the tallest building in the city, and he said, anyone who wants to get liberated, say this mantra immediately. And everyone repeated, and his guru got so angry, he said, my dear disciple, you're going to hell, because you disobeyed my instruction. And then Sripad Ramanujacharya said that, I know I'm going to hell, but I'm willing to go to hell to save all these conditioned souls. And then the guru bowed down at the disciples' feet and said, please accept my humble obeisances, disciple Dave. Because you are my guru. You are more compassionate than me. So even at that point, in the Sri Sampradaya, the mantra Om Namo Narayanaya Namaha became public after Sripad Ramanujacharya. And if you go to South India, especially Sri Rangam, you'll hear this mantra being chanted by everybody. So, of course, Lord Chaitanya has given this mantra to everyone. And everyone can chant and make spiritual progress. Even if you chant the Hare Krishna mantra by accident, that's called namavas, even meaning something else, like Ramada in, or Haram, as the Muslims say, meaning how horrible, then you're still making spiritual progress. But you can't achieve the perfection without taking initiation. Of course, the Vedic literatures tell us, Tasmat Guru Prapadyetu, that one must surrender to a spiritual master. In order to, that is the version of the Vedic literatures. Because without accepting a spiritual master, there's no surrender. There's no idea of, as Krishna says in the Gita, Sarva Dharman Purijaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. Then one still maintains their independence or independent attitude. And because we cannot directly see Krishna as Arjuna saw Krishna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, we cannot directly hear what Krishna is directly telling us as an instruction. General instructions, yes, we hear. We can read Bhagavad Gita and hear the general instructions, but specific instructions have to be given through a personal relationship with Guru. Prabhupada even said, when he was on the planet, you can accept the temple presidents as the Guru's representatives. Of course, we're not saying that someone has to have absolute faith in a temple president, because that absolute faith is something that is reposed voluntarily and should be done with great caution. Prabhupada also said in the Gita that blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. In other words, one should blindly follow. We've seen that in ISKCON. At certain points, people who weren't qualified to be gurus gave some instructions, and this happened outside of ISKCON too, that were not bona fide. So there are three things: Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu. Three standards of judgment. And these three have to match. Like if my guru says, it will help your chanting to smoke marijuana, what should I do? Should I smoke marijuana? Yes? No? Some people say yes. I don't say yes. If there's any question in my mind, because many sadhus, quote, sadhus in India, they smoke marijuana. I went to one temple. I was circumambulating the temple, and the sadhus there, I was behind the temple, said, Maharaj, Mahaprasad. I didn't know what to do because I didn't want to offend them. So I said, it's a Kadashi. On a Kadashi I would go. Any other day I can take. So if your guru says smoke marijuana, then you can go to some other sadhus and you say, my dear sadhu, my dear Daribasha, is it right to smoke marijuana? No. And then I go to the Shastras, the Hari Bhakti Vilas, is it alright to smoke marijuana? No. No intoxication. Then you go back to the Guru and you say, in a very humble way, Gurudev, can I help you? Not in an offensive way. This is very important because one has to be very, very careful. Everything has been established by Prabhupada, so one should not follow blindly anyone, except for His Divine Grace, the Prabhupada. And if you repose your absolute faith in someone, you better make sure that you're doing the right thing. Important point. So, anyway, we already dealt with these two subject matters. Guru Krishna Rupahan Shastrara Prabhan Guru Rupe Krishna Kripa Karane Bhaktigan. And the translation of this for the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the spiritual master is non-different from Krishna. Lord Krishna in the form of the spiritual master delivers his devotees. Can anyone explain what that means? That he's non-different from Krishna. Can anyone give me a verse from the Guru Vastika that explains that? Satsadari Trena Samasta Shastra. What's the rest of it? Utas. Papyata Eva Shati. Yeah, Kriyaiva Tasya. And what's the translation to that verse? Yeah. Sakshat means directly, actually. Directly honored like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All the Shastras say that. Samasa Shastra. Kintu, because he is very dear to the Lord. This is the key. Priya eva tasya. Because the pure devotee, one of the qualities of pure devotional service, in fact, I think it's the last quality according to Nectar of Devotion, is what? Krishna becomes, nobody knows. What? Yes, Krishna becomes controlled by the pure devotion of his devotee. What? Arjuna and Krishna. Yes, Krishna was the chariot driver of Arjuna. And Radharani is known as Madan Mohan Mohini. Krishna attracts Cupid, Madan Mohan, and Radharani is the attractor of the attractor. In other words, one of the qualities of Radharani is she always what? The last quality. She always keeps Krishna wrapped around her little finger. That's one of the qualities of Srimati Radharani. So the Guru, because the Guru, the bona fide Guru, loves Krishna, that Krishna, so much that Krishna is controlled by that devotion. And because Krishna is controlled by that devotion, That's one of the reasons why we say the spiritual master is non-different from the Supreme. And therefore you have the last verse of the Guru Vashita, Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada. What's the rest? And the last two lines? Bande Guru Sri Charanamena. That by pleasing the spiritual master, who is pleased? Krishna is pleased. And without pleasing, if you don't please, if you displease the spiritual master, what? Krishna is displeased. Your devotional service is simply an hallucination, as Prabhupada said. Prabhupada said that in regard to ISKCON. He said anybody who thinks they can become Krishna conscious outside of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is living an hallucination. What's a hallucination? Hallucination. Mirage. That means like a dream, an LSD trip. Can you give me another example of that?
Illusion.
A video game. World Cup football.
Facebook.
Maya, illusion.
Facebook.
In other words, you may leave ISKCON thinking I'm doing very, very well my Krishna consciousness, but you're just living in hallucination because you're disobeying Prabhupada's primary instruction, which is to remain in society and work cooperatively. Because we are conditioned souls, we cannot distinguish between matter and spirit so easily. I mean, devotees, sometimes they all go together to see, they'll give you this example, I hope I'm not offending anybody. They all go together to see the World Cup game. And they wave the flags of their respective countries. I just saw a picture of that. All the devotees, like with a particular country flag, I'm not going to mention which country because I would offend people. They're waving the flag and dancing like this in the video. And they said, "This is our satsanga, Maharaj." I say, okay. So, okay, a little recreation is good, but if you become Desh Bhakta, a devotee of your country, I think that's the opposite of Krishna consciousness as far as I can see. So, anyway, so many times we think that something is spiritual when it's actually material, and many times we think something's material is actually spiritual. Because we can't distinguish. So, if we leave or give up the instructions of the Guru, particularly Prabhupada, who was the founder and Acharya of ISKCON, we are living an hallucination. If we think we're spiritual, if we think we're in Maya, we're not living an hallucination. We're just in an hallucination. I mean, if you're in Maya and you admit you're in Maya, at least you're honest. That's not a problem. Well, it is a problem, but it's not as big a problem as being in Maya and thinking you're Krishna conscious. Very important point. So, anyway, in this way, the spiritual master is non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Yeah.
The second part that of the verse that Krishna delivers one to the spiritual master.
Yeah.
Is that information that Krishna never delivers anyone directly, very rarely, that always spiritual master should be there. Like this you said, critics are not one of my dead sentences, that there should be spiritual master, living spiritual master.
Well, we know, according to Madhurya Kadambini, that bhakti doesn't come from Krishna. Bhakti is independent. If anyone remembers my Madhurya Kadambini course that I gave here several years ago, Bhakti is independent. In other words, the Bhakti Lata Bij, which is the creeper, the seed of the creeper of devotion, comes from Krishna's devotee. Krishna say Tamar, Krishna dite par. Krishna belongs to the devotee, and the Bhakti Lata Bij is implanted from the heart of a devotee into another devotee. So bhakti doesn't come from Krishna, it comes from the devotee. So you have to approach Krishna through his devotee. Unless you happen to be like Arjuna or resident of Vrindavan. In those particular cases, Krishna is directly your guru. Tasmat guru prapadyete yashu shreya uttamam. So one must approach a guru if he wants to be Krishna conscious. It's as simple as that. So, is that all right? Okay, any other question? Then we'll read this. Relationship of the disciple with his spiritual master is as good as his relationship with the Supreme Lord. It doesn't mean it's the same. With your relationship, it's as good, it's different than the same. Because your relationship with Krishna maybe is a coward or is a gopi or conjugal ras. You don't have a relationship with a guru with conjugal ras. You don't have a relationship, he's not one of your coward boyfriends. And you're not the guru's mother or father. So it's not the same, but it's as good. It's good in terms of servitude. And one of the qualities, this is actually Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. Tasmad Guru Prapadyete Yasushe Guru. Samit Pani Shrotriyam. One of the most important qualities of the Guru is that he represents himself as a servant of his Guru. That is Samit Pani. Samit Pani in Sanskrit means someone who brings firewood or water for the Guru. So Srila Prabhupada represented himself always as a servant of his Guru, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But even though the Guru represents himself as a humble servant of his Guru, the disciple worships or approaches the Guru as a manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because he's the via medium. Via medium means he transfers the disciple's devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is another verse we quoted before. Shakshat Tari Traina Samasta Shastra. And this is a quote from Srila Prabhupada in the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam. Acharya Mam Vijnaniyat, and one should consider the Acharya or the Guru to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In spite of all these instructions, if one considers the spiritual master an ordinary human being, one is doomed. Remember this. So in other words, we have to be very careful when accepting the spiritual master. Because if we commit offenses against the spiritual master, then our spiritual life is finished. Nalagati, it's over. Anyone have any questions about any of these points? Questions, comments? I mean, these are all basic Krishna Conscious 101, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not many disciples were really disappointed, and many of them became bitter
or lost faith. Yeah.
Because they said, "No, Prabhupada is the only one."
To get faith requires experience. In other words, these qualities, the three qualities of the bona fide Guru, Samit Pani Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. We are responsible. The disciple is responsible to ascertain if the Guru is bona fide. When the GBC, let's get into the GBC law. How does someone become a Guru in ISKCON? Does anyone know? Appointed. They're not really appointed as a guru, but allowed to do the service. Does anyone know the process? Yeah. What's the process?
As far as I remember, there's a recommendation for someone from some zone. There is 10 senior devotees who know this person, who know which his sadhana, his faith in Prabhupada, his mission, and if there are some potential disciples who want to take initiation from him, this kind of committee, they recommend to GBC that this person is okay. I remember, I don't know if this is the latest version, but it was like before.
So let me go over all the details. Let's say someone wants to be a guru, or some people want him to be a guru. Either he has some prospective disciples, or there's people who are already asking him for initiation. So what happens is the zone that he's preaching in convenes a 10-person committee. And this 10-person committee, by a 2/3 majority now, it used to be a simple majority, either decides to send his name to the GBC or not send his name to the GBC. If his name is sent to the GBC, then there's 6 months. 6 months the GBC members have a chance to either voice an objection or not say anything. If less than 3 people object, then automatically he becomes appointed to be, let's say, to do the service. He's not appointed as a guru, he's appointed to do the service of the guru. If 3 people or more object, then what happens is it goes to the whole GBC body and we discuss that particular person, whether or not he can be given the service of guru. But the GBC is not rubber stamping someone saying that he is a guru or bona fide guru or he has the qualities of a guru. It's just the basic minimum requirements. We make sure that he's chanting his rounds, we make sure that he knows the philosophy, we make sure he has good relationships with devotees, etc. That's the standard. We're giving him the opportunity to do the service of being a guru. But, as they say, what is that? Latin, caveat emptor. You know what that means? Does anyone know what that means? Caveat emptor means let the buyer beware. So in other words, it's up to the prospective disciples to take the time to ascertain whether he has these 3 qualities. Samidpani, which means he's a servant of his guru. In other words, if he's a disciple of Prabhupada, and everyone in ISKCON in one sense is at least a Shiksha disciple of Prabhupada, he should not be disobeying any of Prabhupada's instructions. He should be serving Prabhupada's mission. If he has his own independent mission, he's not a servant of Prabhupada or a servant of Prabhupada's mission. So that's the first disqualification. Shrotriyam means he must have heard from Prabhupada, read Prabhupada's books thoroughly, understood Prabhupada's philosophy, and be able to repeat Srila Prabhupada's words. And then the final one is Brahma Nishtam. Nishta means what? Anyone have any ideas what Nishta means? Steadiness. Steadiness not only in the morning program when he's chanting, but the rest of the day. You know, if you see the guru after, let's say after the morning program, he goes to the cinema all day long. Like, it seems of course, if there's a Krishna conscious movie, it's a little bit different. Like, I like watching the Mahabharata. There's a new Mahabharata series, which is very nice. But if he's watching, give me a name of some movie.
Star Wars really comes.
Star Wars has some
The best
spiritual
movie is
significance.
to walk from Wall
The
Street.
Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead.
I said walking from Wall Street.
Oh, Wall Street. So he's watching some Monday movie or watching the soap opera.
Full of sinful activities. To walk from Wall Street.
Yeah. Or he's playing video games all day long. That's not Brahmanishtam. He has to be engaged 24 hours a day in Krishna's service. Of course, he can sleep a little bit too. But 24 hours a day in Krishna's service. So Brahmanishtam. So the prospective disciple should take the opportunity, must take the opportunity to examine like that. So how do you examine? Of course, sometimes you have nowadays gurus who travel all around the world, right? So that means we can question other people. But we should not accept the guru blindly. We can listen to the classes of the spiritual master, or the MP3s or classes. In this way, we can ascertain the guru's quality. But it's our responsibility. In the old days, it was the zonal acharya system. That if you were in a particular area in the world, you would have to take initiation from a particular guru. Or else you were kicked out. I mean, one time I wanted to go into someone else's zone, and I didn't tell him I was going into his zone, and I got in a lot of trouble. It was actually in the state of Texas, which was Tamal Krishna Maharaj's zone. And I went to visit a friend there, and I got a call from Tamal Krishna Maharaj. He said, "What are you doing in my zone?" And I said, "I didn't know I had to have a visa to come into your zone. You know, I'm an American. I'm allowed to go to Texas. It's a free country." So this is how strict it was. There was probably guru immigration people at every border. You have to have a stamp visa, especially if you were another guru. Oh my God forbid, you were confined to a certain area of the world. Anyway, so now we have the opportunity. There's a multi-guru society, which is very unique. In Gaudiya Vaishnavism, at least in the modern world, it's very unique to have a multi-guru society. Now, in the Ramanuja Sampradaya, they're doing this. They all work together, considering Sripad Ramanujacharya to be the primary acharya. But in the recent history of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, not in Lord Chaitanya's time, but in the recent history of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, you have maths, different maths. In Lord Chaitanya's time, they had a multi-guru society, and they all got along, worked together, working under the jurisdiction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. Okay.
Question?
Yeah, question.
Is the Ramanuja Acharya current Sampradaya kind of Ritvik because they only...
No, they're not Ritvik.
Okay. And the second one, with regard to the qualifications of Guru, do current ISKCON Gurus, for example, have to fully realize that first from Shruka Goswami's Padeshamita Vachavega Manasa?
Yes, they have to. Well, his question is, do current gurus in ISKCON have to follow or realize the verse Vacho Begam, Manasakrota Begam, Jiva Begam, Ururupashta Begam? That means that in order to be a spiritual master, one has to tolerate the urges of the tongue, belly, genitals, mind, anger, and words. It doesn't say that one doesn't have the urges, but one tolerates. As long as one has a material body, one will want to taste certain things, or say certain things, or do certain things, or get angry. But tolerate means to be able to hold it back if it's not Krishna conscious. I mean, for example, let's say a guru is driving a car, and someone may cut him off from another car. He may feel the urge to get angry. But then he understands it's not pleasing to Krishna. So naturally, if someone cuts you off, you're going to feel immediate anger. But then he restrains it. So in other words, he tolerates the urges. That particular verse does not say he doesn't have the urges. That verse says he tolerates the urge to speak, tongue, belly, genitals, mind, anger, and words. So to be any sort of bona fide guru, you have to do that. But it's not, as we'll be mentioning later on, it's not that every guru in ISKCON is necessarily at the topmost platform of Krishna Prema. I mean, there are different levels of guru. The disciple can only advance as much as his guru does. Now, if we're all accepting Srila Prabhupada as our Siksha Guru, primary source of guidance, then there's no limit to our advancement.
But also when you say a disciple can only advance as much as his guru, by the time he advances up to that level, his guru can also advance.
I hope so. He pushes his guru, hey Guru Dev, you better advance a little more, you know.
Wakes his guru up.
Yeah, Guru Dev, wake up, it's Mangal Arti. Guru Dev, stop eating that boga.
What was the question? I didn't hear the question.
Right, he said, what about the point that as the disciple advances, the guru will try to advance?
No, that's natural. We expect that.
Maybe he won't, though. But the guru will, and it's not necessarily true. Necessarily, it's not absolutely true. The guru will advance in such a way as always keep at least a step ahead of his disciple. But the point I'm making is, yes, what you're saying is true. The point I'm making is that all of us in the International Society can or should accept Srila Prabhupada as the primary source of siksha and guidance in the society. And so, at that point, our advancement is unlimited. Even if you're like Dhira Prashant and accepted a Kanishta Adhikari like me as a guru,
that's not true.
You can still go back to Godhead by taking guidance and working in Srila Prabhupada's society. By working cooperatively in Srila Prabhupada's society, you get Prabhupada's mercy. I'm not saying you neglect your guru. There's an etiquette in dealing with the guru. But the guru's instruction is work cooperatively in Srila Prabhupada's society. So you're not only getting your Diksha Guru's mercy, you're getting the mercy of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada and all the previous acharyas in disciplic succession. I mean, it's this unlimited mercy you're getting, because you're connected with the Sampradaya. If you see your guru as separate from the Sampradaya, that is not the proper attitude. And you're not actually seeing the guru if you see him as separate from the Sampradaya. He's connected with the Sampradaya. The energy, the spirituality, the potency of the Sampradaya descends through the guru, through disciplic succession, and through Srila Prabhupada's society, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And so you're getting the full mercy. And we have so many gurus too in ISKCON. As we mentioned, we have Prabhupada, we have our Diksha Guru, we have our instructing gurus, and so we're getting mercy from all these different personalities. So there's never any lack. So there's hope, dear Prashanta. So, yes?
Any question?
Yeah, question.
Ako ti idem baš някои инструкции, kao na me puši na reklamu, ma nešto suptilnije što ti ne možeš prepoznati. Šta on?
It is said that a spiritual master doesn't have to be an Uttama Adhikari.
That's right.
And okay, we understood the point. If he says smoke marijuana to chant better, we understand, we can differentiate. But what if he says something that is a little bit more subtle, that it's a little bit more different to recognize as something that we should not follow from our spiritual master?
Then we go, as we mentioned before, we go to other Vaishnavas. That's why we have a whole society. And we said, Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu. These three things protect us. If there's any question
Ima ikakvo pitanje?
Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu.
Imamo guru, sadhu, šastra.
Okay? You have the ability. We have a society where we're protected by our god brothers, god uncles, god aunts, god nephews. So this protects us.
To nas štiti.
Of course, you shouldn't be looking for fault in the guru.
Ne treba da tražimo sad greške.
That's also another problem too, that we can look and see, well, the guru made a mistake in his English or made a mistake in something like that, look for fault. We should be very careful about that. But if there's something questionable, yes, we do have a right to ask an advanced devotee. Okay? Is that okay?
Ne, ako ti to ne poznaš, onda ne pitaš nikoga. Zato što on meni priča kad je on bio u Italiji, onda je puno bilo u Italiji. Govori slovo da mora biti kao gramatikan.
Così non c'è problema.
Onda nemaš kao
Ti puoi abbandonare completamente.
Možeš totalno kao...
A govorili su za sebi da su utomatikari.
Ne, govori se da bi guru trebao biti. A ovo drugo je moje pitanje. Ako ti kao ne prepoznaš, ne ideš pitati, a ne možeš ni samo sumnjati, onda se nikako ne gledaš. Ti imao već loših iskustva i nikako da se on skroz opusti.
But when there are many things and you do not recognize that it's something questionable, then if you do not recognize that it's something questionable, then you will not go to ask senior devotees. And there were many of these things, and there were things in this lady's experience in Italy where there were people saying that Guru must be Uttamatikari. So what to do then?
Therefore, we have a society with many gurus in it and many senior people. And even if we don't recognize it, we have the protection of other senior devotees around us who will help us in our spiritual lives. Right now we have a multi-guru society. Devotees are encouraged. One of the purposes of this course is to encourage the devotees to take shelter of all their gurus, to read Srila Prabhupada's books, to understand the qualities of a guru, so they are not following blindly. Like Prabhupada said, blind inquiry, blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. Now, of course, there's that funny story where Prabhupada was walking on the beach with his disciples. And as they were walking on the beach, they saw a very nice car, and Prabhupada said, in the future we will have many nice big cars like this. And the devotees said, Jai Prabhupada. And then they saw a very big building, and Prabhupada said, our movement will have many, many big buildings like this in the future. And the devotee said, Jai Prabhupada. And then they saw a man walking a big German shepherd. And Prabhupada said, we will have many big dogs like this in the future too. And the devotee said, Jai Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, you are so foolish. You would say, Jai Prabhupada for anything I say. So sometimes the Guru was testing the disciple like that. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, you have Parikshit Maharaj, who is being tested by his Guru Shukadeva Goswami. In the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Parikshit Maharaj is trying to find out how people can become free from from the punishments of the Yamadutas. And Shukadev Goswami says to him, by atonement. Atonement means basically you do something to torture yourself or the body and you feel bad, you feel guilty and all that other nice stuff. But Parikshit Maharaj basically says to his guru, in nice words, he said, you're wrong, Gurudev. He says, because if you simply do atonement, it is like an elephant bathing. The elephant comes out of the river after it bathes itself and throws dust on itself. The word in Sanskrit is kunjara sochara. He says, Gurudev, there has to be some other answer to this. This is not the correct answer. So even Parikshit Maharaj and Shukadev Goswami, in that particular relationship, there's not blind following. So we have a right to question, and we have a right to go to other people. And it is the duty of devotees in the Krishna conscious movement to advise others if they see someone giving a bad instruction, or faulty instruction, or deviant instruction. Yes?
Mi smo društvo koje ima jako puno guruje, ne? A sad, pošto smo isto uslomene duše, ponekad se ti dogodi, teško reći da ti neki guru jako antipatičan. I sad kako to odbivati da ne postane neka uvreda i kako s tim stvari odbivati?
We are a society with multiple gurus and we are also conditioned souls. But it so happens sometimes that a certain spiritual master is, how to put it, let's say, antipathic. Well, he's not so likable to us in some way. And how to deal, what to do in such situations so that we do not commit offense. How to behave as to not commit an offense against that Vaishnava, but he's not so likable.
You know, follow Vaishnava etiquette. I mean, Vaishnava etiquette is such that even if an enemy comes to your home, he's not to suspect that you're his enemy. So even if there's someone, you know, rubs you the wrong way or something like that, or for one reason you're not that compatible with him, you follow the etiquette. I mean, you don't have to go around serving him, but you follow etiquette. If he asks for something, with any Vaishnava, manina, manadena. Actually, the guru, a real bona fide guru, considers himself to be a servant of everybody. So a bona fide disciple should be following the footsteps of his guru and serving all humanity. What to speak of other spiritual masters. And also it pleases the guru if you serve his godbrothers or other advanced devotees. I mean, I know Tamal Krishna Maharaj, for example, gave the instruction to all of his disciples that you are to serve all my godbrothers just like you serve me. So we have to put aside sometimes our own personal little feelings and follow Vaishnava etiquette. Because one who does not follow Vaishnava etiquette, the word is Maryada Vyatikrama, Prabhupada said, can never achieve Krishna's favor. So we don't have to surrender to them, but we have to have the right etiquette. Okay. Other questions? Nice question. Before we go ahead, no other questions? Because we have a lot to cover in the next 15 minutes of this first part of the course. Okay. So these are some examples Prabhupada gives of a guru's position. When someone offers something to a guru, offers service, the guru offers it to Krishna. Because we do not have the ability to go to Krishna directly. Like we're worshipping the deities, whether it's Radha Krishna, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, or Nitai. It says, Atakshi Krishna Namadi Nabhavet Prayamindriya. We can't see or perceive the spiritual reality with these blunt material senses. And Krishna says, Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam Yome Bhakta Priyachati. That I accept things that are offered with love and devotion. But that's pure love and devotion. I mean, how many of us have pure love and devotion? Anybody here have pure love and devotion? Not me. No way. So, because we don't have pure love and devotion, then we offer through spiritual master, who offers to his spiritual master, who offers to his spiritual master, and then it's offered with love and devotion. It's like the postman. You give something to the postman, it's not meant for him, it's meant for the ultimate destination. So this is an example of Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, a postman may deliver $100, but we do not consider the postman as giving us $100. The money is sent by a friend, and is simply the postman's business to hand it over as it is without taking anything or adding anything to it. That's the Guru's position. The same thing, actually. So, here's one statement by Prabhupada. Generally, the spiritual master comes from the group of such eternal associates of the Lord, but anyone who follows the principles of such ever-liberated persons is as good as one of the above-mentioned group. Prabhupada actually said at one point that all of his disciples, they were liberated because they were following Prabhupada. So as long as we're following, even if we're not completely from this group of ever-liberated persons. I mean, for example, I can't say that I came from a group of liberated persons, I descended from the spiritual world. And first of all, it's not appropriate for disciples to say that about their guru unless they're absolutely sure about it. Because if you over-glorify someone, that's an offense. Blind disciples many times will say, Gurudev, Krishna sent you from Krishna Loka. And other than in cases like Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and maybe other people that I don't know about, at least in my case, it's not true. I was probably sent by Yamaraj from Yamaloka or something to show Prabhupada's compassion. So when you over-glorify, it's actually an insult to someone to over-glorify them. Or with qualities that they don't have, or some background they don't have. It's just not appropriate, it's not the right etiquette. Yeah.
Some of Srila Prabhupada's disciples were not in his group. But I'm just asking about your opinion. Do you think that Prabhupada is sadhana siddha? Which means that he attained perfection in his life, like Prahlad Maharaj is sadhana siddha, and there's other like many of them. What do it?
Prabhupada himself tells us indirectly in the Bhagavatam about his childhood, worshipping Radha Krishna deities from when he was very young. His father was a pure devotee of Srimati Radharani. Prabhupada told the devotees that he was with Krishna, and Krishna told him to go to the material world to write books and publish books. And Prabhupada said to Krishna, how can I go to that horrible place? And Krishna sent him anyway. I mean, there's some dialogues in which Prabhupada revealed his particular position. And also the evidence of Srila Prabhupada's potency in spreading Krishna consciousness, in doing what even Lord Chaitanya didn't do. I mean, that's amazing. That's not done by just regular spiritual master. So Srila Prabhupada is definitely Nitya Siddha. Look at the evidence, his own history. And it's not that every guru is Nitya Siddha. But of course, if one is sadhana siddha, that's as good as Nitya Siddha anyway. Siddha means perfect. But Srila Prabhupada is Nitya Siddha devotee. And those who say anything else, there's some political motive behind it. The political motive is to take people away from the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and have them join their own group. Behind most philosophical statements by people who are not in ISKCON, who are attempting to take people away from ISKCON, there's politics. So you have to look at the political motivation behind someone's statement. Prabhupada had no ulterior motive. Of course, that word ulterior is a big word. What's the name? What's the word for that? In your word? Ulterior, no, hidden. Hidden. Prabhupada had no hidden motive. Prabhupada could have spread his movement much more by adjusting things even more, by even changing the name to International Society for Spiritual Consciousness or God Consciousness. But Prabhupada didn't water things down. His only motive was to save people, give people Krishna consciousness. Not to steal. Like you see in the case of many Prabhupada's godbrothers, or some of them, they actually stole people even when Prabhupada was present from Prabhupada's society. There was one godbrother, and we're not supposed to commit offenses against him, but he reinitiated some of Prabhupada's disciples. And there was Van Maharaj. And there was one of my godbrothers who I know, his name is Rishikesh. He went to Vrindavan and he stayed with Van Maharaj. And Prabhupada in the beginning said it was alright. But Van Maharaj did not let this disciple of Prabhupada receive any of Prabhupada's letters. And so he said, Van Maharaj, Prabhupada's godbrother, said to this disciple that, Prabhupada really doesn't care anything about you anymore. So I'm going to give you reinitiation. And he reinitiated this particular devotee. So this politics is going on, and when people minimize Prabhupada, usually there is some political motive behind it. There's other things that people say too, but I'm not going to get into all the details. But Prabhupada is definitely a Nitya-Siddha devotee by all evidence. All evidence is there that Prabhupada's Nitya-Siddha devotee. His own words and practical evidence. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said about Prabhupada, when Prabhupada's godbrothers wanted him to join the movement, his movement, the Gaudiya Math, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, just let him be on the outside. In due course, he will do everything. Imagine that. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was predicting Prabhupada. Prabhupada was predicted by Lord Nityananda. Lord Nityananda said in the future there'll be a Senapati, conquering general, a great general. Pati means master. Senapati, master of the Sena or the soldiers. And that Senapati will spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And who did that? Prabhupada did that. So there's so much evidence. The more I think about it, I come up with more and more evidence that Prabhupada is a Nitya-Siddha devotee. And those who are gurus now may or may not be Nitya-Siddha. But we should, before accepting a guru, be very careful to ascertain the qualities. Whether it's a Siksha guru in ISKCON or a Diksha guru. Because they're both very serious relationships. Say, a person who is liberated cannot commit any mistakes, but there are persons who are less qualified or not liberated who can still act as guru and acharya by strictly following the disciplic succession. So that's the point. Samitpani Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. Samitpani, being a servant of Prabhupada's mission, Shrotriyam, having heard from Prabhupada strictly, and Brahmanishtam, never deviating. Does anyone have any questions about this? Alright, so now the different types of gurus which we mentioned before. Diksha Guru. Everyone knows what a Diksha Guru is?
Who gives?
The initiation, Divya Gyan, Shah, but there's a ceremony. Only in the case of a Diksha Guru is there actually a ceremony. Of course, the Sannyasa Guru, there's a ceremony too, but it's a ceremonial type. It's not really as serious. It's not your eternal relationship who you take sannyas from. Like, for example, I took sannyas from Vrinananda Maharaj. And I would not say eternally he's my guru. He's my friend, and I have a friendly relationship, and I joke with him. And that's it. It's not that, and sometimes I joke with him. When he was a zonal acharya, I don't know if I should tell this. When he was his own acharya, I dealt with him a lot. And when I was saying his Pramadwani prayers, you know Pramadwani? Pramadwani means the Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Bhagavata stuff. So when I was doing that, which everyone had to do in that time in ISKCON for all the gurus, I would make a joke out of it. And he would get very angry with me. I would go, Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Bhagavata Ostvatara Satashi Shiva. His divine grace, Rita Nanda, like that. And he would get so angry with me in the middle of Bhagavatam class, he would throw water on me. So that's a friendly relationship. I wouldn't do that with Prabhupada. That would mean going to hell if I did that with Prabhupada. But anyway, so Diksha Guru, there's only one Diksha Guru. He gives instruction, initiates, gives you your spiritual name, and gives you your mantra. That's the mantra guru, the Gayatri mantra, and also Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And he accepts your vows. Vows means the 4 regulative principles you're going to follow, and 16 rounds every day without fail. And removes your sinful reactions. That means he sometimes has to suffer your sinful reactions. Does anyone know how the Guru suffers your sinful reactions? What? Dreams. He had one way his dreams. In other words, the Guru doesn't have to go to the horror movies. He gets free movies every night. Godzilla, Frankenstein, Psycho, what other one? Axe Murder, Zombie. That's the benefit of being a guru in the ISKCON movement. So one is he has dreams, bad dreams. Another one is he gets what? Diseases, sicknesses. Like that. So that's another way he suffers the reactions. It's not that he becomes a karmi or gets fallen, but he has to suffer some reactions when he gives initiation. It's Krishna's reminder. It's not actually karma. It's Krishna reminding him. Therefore, a guru should not be enthusiastic to accept many disciples or unqualified disciples. Yeah.
When exactly, for from your experience, when you get this bad karma, it's coming like waves, or we're coming at a specific time at initiation. Is it known to you or not?
It's like being in a tsunami. Usually, Krishna reminds you of these things when it's appropriate. It's not necessarily right after initiation. And also, what the disciple does, even after initiation, let's say a month or two or a year or two, can affect the guru. Like Prabhupada said, there was one disciple who did something really bad. He left sannyas. And Prabhupada said, "You have embarrassed me in front of Krishna. You've embarrassed me in front of Krishna." So, it can be, because the guru is accepting the sins of the disciple. Krishna reminds me of that. It can happen at any time. So one has to be very strong in his sadhana. I think we should be we should make this point very strongly, that the guru must have good sadhana. That's one of the things we're talking about, brahmanishtam. He should have observable chanting of the 16 rounds, observable studying of Srila Prabhupada's books. All these rising early, all these aspects of sadhana are extremely important. Prabhupada said the problem with you Western boys and girls is that you're not enough afraid of Maya. So sometimes when we so-called advance in devotional service, we think we can do any damn thing. I remember when I first started traveling with a sannyasi in 1972, I wasn't a sannyasi then, The sannyasi told me, now that he's sannyas and I'm traveling with him, we don't have to wake up early anymore. And I thought, Hari Bol, this is fantastic. Now I can wake up anytime. And we can eat anything. Don't have to, if we just go into the supermarket, we just Sri Vishnu the bag of groceries. And then we found our consciousness dropping. So it's important to always be strict, like Srila Prabhupada was. So, let's see. We have a lot more to come to this first part. We're not.
You are on slide 16 out of 31 of this list.
We covered just about everything anyway. So, Shiksha Guru, we discussed, gives instructions. Alright, so Diksha, this we actually already talked about, so we don't have to go over again. I sort of got ahead of myself. So, Iksha, which we explained at the beginning of the seminar, means to see, and Sha means to explain. Shadpayata. Yeah, we talked about all this before too. Yeah. Yeah, so this we actually already dealt with. Yeah, we already dealt with that already. Guru is one, we already dealt with. We already discussed this. Got ahead of myself. Alright, Parampara we didn't discuss so much. Does anyone have an idea what the general principle of Parampara is? Disciplic succession. Anyone? Raise your hands. Yes.
That the participant in Parampara has heard the message as it is from the previous bona fide
Guru.
representative, let's say.
What is the example Prabhupada gives in terms of a specific type of a tree? Mango tree. And what do they do with a mango tree? Picking mangoes how? Hand to hand. Instead of just taking the mango and throwing it down, the mango is handed down carefully. So in the same way, the message is handed down carefully. But what happens with a chain of disciplic succession, or any chain, if one person is not bona fide?
Whole chain is then
The chain is only as strong as its what? Weakest link. So do you know disciplic successions do get broken? Can someone give me an example of a broken disciplic succession from one of our scriptures?
Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita, this knowledge I gave to the Son of God,
Yeah.
etc. Now I'm giving it again to you, Arjuna.
Because the disciplic succession was broken, Krishna was reestablishing the disciplic succession. That's Guru Parampara. This the Evam Parampara Prapta Vimam Rajarshayo Viduhu. Devotional service of spiritual knowledge of Guru must come in a Parampara. There's 4 Sampradayas. What are the 4 Sampradayas? Anyone know? What?
Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya, Shri Sampradaya, Rudra and Brahma, Kumar Sampradaya.
Lakshmi Sampradaya. Yeah. That's the Sri Sampradaya. You already said it too. The Sri Sampradaya is the modern representative. And so Prabhupada is in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. He is the founder Acharya. Tomorrow we're going to be giving this very interesting talk about what it means to say that Srila Prabhupada is the founder Acharya. And there's a special slideshow about that, and this slideshow was put together by Ravindra Swarup Prabhu. So, Prabhupada said, if you want to understand Bhagavad Gita, we must understand the same way as the person who directly heard from, this is called Parampara system. Suppose I have heard something from my spiritual master, so I speak to you the same thing. This is the Parampara system. Now, there's this game we used to play when we were young. It's called telephone, where we had a parampara, but it was a lousy parampara. Because we would say something, and it got changed by the time it got to the 5th or 6th or 8th person in the classroom. So that's why the members of the disciplic succession have to be pure. Otherwise, you lose the message and become something else. How many more slides do we have in this one?
Just 4 more.
Okay. Prabhupada said, you cannot imagine what my spiritual master said, or even if you read some books, you cannot understand unless you understand it from me. Very heavy statement. This is called Parampara system. You cannot jump over to the superior guru, neglecting the next acharya, immediate next acharya. That's also an argument against the Ritvik philosophy. You really can't just approach the previous acharya. Prabhupada said, if you give me the example of a man, he says, if you love me, you'll love my dog, of course. And so the guru, the bona fide guru, was actually, in one sense, the dog of his spiritual master. Prabhupada used to say, when I took initiation, Prabhupada said, these kanti malas are a dog collar. You understand? They're dog collar, because we are the humble servant, not the dog that barks and bites the spiritual master, but the dog that serves. Yeah.
I also heard that someone asked Srila Prabhupada, some of his disciples, can he read some of the books of previous acharyas? He said, yes, if you read all of my books, and I think maybe also implement them in life.
Yeah. We should read all of Prabhupada's books many times, and have the permission from our guru, and have the permission from other Vaishnavas to read other books. Like, Prabhupada asked one time a disciple, who is your favorite author? And Prabhupada got upset when this devotee said, Bhaktivinoda Gora. And then the disciple sort of changed his mind. He said, oh, you Prabhupada. Yes, that's the right name. So we cannot jump. Yeah, this we can all do. This is all part. This is part of the second thing. Yeah. Okay. Same thing. Cannot jump. This we already touched on. First of all, you become a devotee of my devotee. Gopi Bharati Parakamalo Dasa Dasa Dasana Dasa. I'm the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. And that's the last slide. So we'll take a little break, I think, right? 5-minute break. And actually, that's a Gayatri break for those who say Gayatri. And those who don't say Gayatri, you can...
Please advise us now who should.
All right. Manjari Gopi will actually sift through the people, decide who's going to stay, all right?